Hi, it's lexgineer. In the previous video I told you about Slack community where there are dozens or even thousands of questions and answers from different topics of the WWDC conference in the previous year, in 2023 I mean. Here you can see a short bunch of those topics you had a chance to ask about. For example, CarPlay, design, HomeKit, even UIKit, they still are working on it. But today I wanna dive deeper into VisionOS and spatial computing. Among all questions from this topic, I gathered some of them which I want to tell you about. I split all these discussions into a few areas, and the first which comes to mind is the design. Why VisionOS looks like this and what you need to keep in mind when developing new experiences there. I put all questions here in the laptop to read them and tell my honest opinion about this. So the first interesting one is what UX topics developers and designers would need to keep in mind when creating a great spatial computing experience, and which they didn't worry about before. And the answer from Apple expert is sound. So the sound design was not really interesting or important for iPad or iOS applications, because usually people just turned off the music, the video and the income sound, and but for spatial computing it's really important and interesting. So you need to keep in mind that a great sound experience could make your applications much more affordable for this platform. The next question is why tab bar looks like in this way for VisionOS, because you know for iPad and iOS you have this bottom area with a few tabs, and now it's on the left. And there were a few points why they go in this way. The first one, when you focus on each item, it is expanded and you see not only the icon but also the text. The second one, that the bottom area for the window is a great place to put such controls as for audio recording or something like that. So it's another control and you can take bigger advantage of it. Next question. I am curious what were the considerations and design philosophy behind using 2D windows in augmented reality. So they put this window scene for every application you can use, and first of points is familiarity. So it's Apple experts, Apple UX designers thinks that you don't need to redesign some controls like switches, buttons, text, and etc. And to keep people familiar with the interfaces they use for years, 10 years. And the second, if some elements like switches, buttons are placed in different positions and on different distances, it would not be so easy to control them, because you need to focus. It's better to put them on some flat area and easier to use. And yeah, it's also the third point, that if you keep basic interactions nearly at flat plane, the 3D moments would be shine even more brightly. Another interesting questions were about will widgets be supported on VisionOS, and about minimizing windows. windows on VisionOS, and the general question is no, it's not allowed. So you would have no weather widget, for example, somewhere on the top left or something like that. No, you have only the application window, and it would not be just some small piece of interface somewhere here. And that is also related to design, I believe, and it's a general question. So when you are in a full immersive mode, how far you can walk before your world takes out from this experience? And somewhere I heard about this, but Apple experts told exactly that. If you are fully immersed, when you start to walk, the system will very fast will take you out from this surrounding for safety. So it's not allowed to walk, to run and to move fast in the full immersive mode, but it's for safety, and that's great. Now we will talk about integration. So did Apple succeed with creating smooth integration experience between the new device with the old ones? And the first question is it possible to have an iPhone that's looking at the same visual scene as the Vision Pro, and they have a synchronized shared session? And yeah, that's one is interesting, because it makes sense when you playing on your Vision Pro and somebody is playing on their iPhones. They see the same scene, I don't know, some game, and then can interact with you. Because in other case you should buy 4, for example, or 3 Vision Pro devices only just to play in the same room. And the answer is no, it's not allowed. So that's really pity, and they even created the issue there that they really need to make these shared sessions, as you can see on different iPhones, for example, when you can play, for example, 3 to 5 iPhones with the same game scene and the same environment. That's pity, but no smooth experience. Another question was, has any thoughts been given to integrating iPhone or iPad applications into Vision Pro applications? The answer from the expert is that ultra high resolution on Vision Pro allows you to use your iPhone, your iPad, or some other devices while wearing it. So yeah, it's possible. And the answer is you can create the special companion app for the main application on your Vision Pro, and it could be run on other iPhone, for example. You can interact with this. For example, you can see something here and something on the iPhone, make some settings, I don't know. It's up to you to create some interesting experience with this. And the way how they can interact with each other is, for example, multi-peer connective or peer-to-peer data exchange. Let's go further. So, will VisionOS support multiple macOS windows floating in the space, or is just a single monitor that can be used? That was really interesting for me, because, for example, you have your Mac, you wear this Vision Pro, and it's really useful to see 3 windows, for example, 4 or 5, as you can just swipe left or right on your MacBook. And the answer, again, only single monitor. You can, of course, scale it as much as you want to, but it's only a single monitor, and you can use only this. Maybe it would be more convenient in further versions, but now not super. And the related question is, which is interesting for developers, will you have an Xcode application to create applications via Vision Pro? And The answer is that there is no Xcode application for Vision Pro Spatial. So the only way is to use your Mac, any Mac. It should not be only MacBook or some other device, and you can just interact with Xcode as usual. When Google Glasses were released, a lot of questions were appeared also, because you are blurring actually the camera on your glasses, and you can record at every time, and it could touch other people's privacy, and it's a big topic. And let's check how Apple handled this. So from the developer's perspective, the question sounds like, I have an application where it reads text using the Vision framework. I'm wondering if I can do the same in VisionOS, like using Vision framework to get text from the camera input. And the only question is that there is no way to perform text detection. There is no way to get pixels from cameras, from any camera, because you know there are a bunch of cameras around the Vision Pro headset, and the only way you can detect text via Vision framework is just to detect it from some image you provided, but not from camera input. The interesting part here is that, as I mentioned, you have no access to the camera input, to any data from camera, and that's great. So users' privacy are quite safe. Another question is, for some rendering, can app developers get feedback identifying the area of the focus? So for example, user looks here, then looks here, and then looks here, and the answer is that no API or callbacks informing where user is currently looking at. The only possible way is to use some modifiers of SwiftUI interfaces, but that's the only interface you are looking for on some button, and you can get some answer from here possibly. Also, using your iPhone, you could use this object capture. For example, you can scan any object and get the data from it. And people also are interested. So any objections or any efforts for Vision Pro, again, the answer is it's not possible on Vision Pro. It's only available on iOS, iPadOS or macOS, so it seems we are quite safe. Okay, another interesting part for developers is actually what can we do with the currently existing frameworks working around games or your applications. And the first one, can Vision Pro track foot position? If not, is it possible to get access to camera data to do the tracking with the custom solutions in your application? If you remember, there were a few applications which allowed you to put on your foot the digital shoes and check could they fit your leg. Partly the answer is in the previous section, that you have no access to the camera, and besides, Apple experts also noticed that there is no foot position or foot tracking currently on the Vision Pro. So yeah, you cannot interact with your legs, you cannot play virtual football, for example. In some other thread, there was also a question, is there any face tracking, and the answer is also no, and I bet that it would not be changed, especially for the camera input. It's privacy, and it would not be allowed to get any data, especially, you know, bunch of cameras. What camera do you want to get from? But that's interesting, you can interact with some other parts of your body. And the next question is there a way to approximate the head height above the floor to adapt the app to people with different heights or body types? And the answer is while in full space you can track position and body in different areas, but you had to know that not know, but you should keep in mind that people would usually maybe use Vision Pro while seated, so yeah, it would be another dimension and another height about the floor. So if we have some tracking, the question is it possible to access ARKit from a shared space or only full spaces? And the main answer here is that you can use ARKit only when your application has a custom full space, I mean immersive space. So use ARKit only in full spaces, but in other case you would have no data about hands, for example, gestures, etc. The next question for developer is, will our view using our world tracking configuration work on unmodified iPad application which is run on a shared space? And the answer is that our view and AR world tracking configuration not available on VisionOS, and you need to adapt your application and use other providers. And you can actually check some WWDC session about this. Next, if I have an existing XR game where I use a special joystick which are moving and related to your position, good news here that Apple provides the identity of hand locations, and you can render this via RealityKit. Besides, you can also use your joystick if they can be connected via Bluetooth, but it's a topic of another question, of another video. Next one, is the world track in general for ARKit is provided? And yes, ARKit provides your pose. It means position, rotation of the device. And maybe the last question, can VisionOS app work outside on the ground, for example? And yes, it could work, but Apple experts believes that the best way to use apps for VisionOS is in the indoor environment. That's all what I wanted to tell you about VisionOS and spatial computer today. I hope this information was interesting for you, because it's not in the public internet, and it's hard to find some information. If some other questions appeared in your head, just put them in comments and I will try to find any information for you, and of course subscribe to see my answers for your questions in next videos. Bye!